I'm Rosina Robson from PACT. PACT is the UK Producers Association, the Producers Alliance for Cinema and TV. I have our resident Latin America experts with us today, so I hope you've got lots of questions about the region. They'll all do an introduction in a bit, but just briefly, to my left, I have Alfredo, who says he's Fred, Fierro. He's going to talk about Argentina and the broad Latin America market. I have Tassia Frade from Brazil, and also Luis Calete from Mexico. So we hope you have lots of questions to ask. Briefly, a little bit about PACT, a little bit about what we do. We have 500 members across the UK in TV, film, digital, and also children's media as well. And from an international perspective, our focus is very much on the abacus territories. So that's Africa, Brazil, Australasia, China, and the US. And those are the territories that we, from a sort of production market, we think are really key. They both contain established markets like the US and also emerging territories as well. And that's where, based on the research we've done, we think are the key current markets or going to be key future markets over the next 5 years for producers to concentrate on. And we want to, over the next few years, double exports to those territories. And a colleague of mine is leading a delegation to the Rio content market over the next couple of weeks. We're very excited about the opportunities there. We provide, as you'll see from the slide, we provide support across a range of markets to both companies who are members and non-members. So do contact me at the end if you want a bit more information about the work we do. I'll touch on a couple of things that we're offering at the moment. I won't go through the whole list, but a couple of things. We do webinars for producers that put producers in direct contact with buyers globally, which is fantastic, particularly for companies that are based outside of London. They don't have to go out of the office. They can focus on, they can sit at their desk and they get an opportunity to question a global buyer about what they're looking for, and they don't have to travel. 3 apps that are definitely worth you looking at, and have a look on the App Store to download. Firstly, the UK Indies app that gives all producers based in the UK an opportunity, a platform to show their content on an app which is globally available. So a fantastic resource. We also have a TV Commissioners app which we've launched both in the UK and in the States as well. So that gives a fantastic platform for companies to view what commissioners are looking for, both in the UK and the US. And we're also launching it in Australia, China, and very shortly Rio as well, in Brazil as well. So it's a fantastic resource, so you can see what commissioners are looking for around the world. And also, I just wanted to mention another initiative that we're organising is something called our PACT Export Accelerator event, and this is very much for both first-time exporters and also producers who maybe have tried out 1 or 2 territories, but we're really trying to encourage them to diversify a little bit and try new emerging markets. And these accelerator events will be going around the UK. We'll be going to Glasgow, Cardiff, Belfast, Bristol and Manchester as well. And it's an opportunity to hear from experts about exporting, about financing, about co-production, but also a bit more of an interactive opportunity to develop your own export plan for your business. So that's a little bit about what we offer. Do grab me at the end if you want to know a bit more. But now let's talk a little bit more in detail about Latin America and the opportunities available. So Alfredo, you were going to talk a little bit about the region as a whole, but also specifically about Argentina. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rosina. Thanks a lot for coming. Good morning to everyone. I'm based in Buenos Aires in Argentina, but I wanted to do a brief introduction on Latin America as a whole, because seen from the UK, it all looks like a big mass out there. We are very diverse countries, but we have more commonalities than diversities. 26 countries that speak Spanish, one country that speaks Portuguese, one big country that speaks Portuguese, 621 million people altogether, so that's 20% more people than in the EU, in a very homogeneous region. We have over 200 million people living in cities, and not just any cities of over 1 million inhabitants. We have 58 cities with over 1 million people, including two of the world's largest cities, Mexico City and Sao Paulo, with over 20 million each. Even our own Buenos Aires is 14 million, so it's not that small, but it's smaller than them too. We are all in a phase of democracy, with some exceptions on weak democracies, and call it Cuba and Venezuela, but it's a moment of information, it's a moment that people want to see what's going on and want to report it to the world and share it. So it's great for television, for broadcasting in general. We are a large economy. Combined, Latin America is over $9 trillion, which would be basically the third economy in the world if it was a single country. So the myth about the old Latin America not having money is not true. Actually, 10 of the Latin American countries are already qualified as upper middle income by the World Bank. So they're not rich countries, by no means are they poor countries anymore. So they're countries that can buy and that want to sell to the world, and for that they need the best technology, and they will buy formats, they will buy contents, they will buy everything. The other thing I wanted to flag as for the continent as a whole is that there is quality there. For example, the different countries in Latin America have had 19 nominations to the Oscars and won 2 Oscars already. And BAFTAs, we've had, Mexico won 2 BAFTAs for not, what's it called? Not films not in the English language. For the Oscars, it's foreign language films. For the BAFTAs, it's films not in the English language for whatever reason. So Mexico has won 2, Brazil has won 1, and Argentina won the latest one just this year on Valentine's Day. So it's important to see that there is quality coming out of the region. So for quality, you need state-of-the-art equipment. If we're looking at Argentina in particular, it's a country of 43 million people, so the third one in South America, much smaller than Mexico and Brazil, but next in line. 90% of the population living in cities, and with one big city, Buenos Aires, with almost 14 million. It's the 25th largest world economy, so Argentina is being smaller than Mexico, Brazil, but it's still a sizable economy. And it's a country with a very, well, something that kind of puts Argentina apart is that our population growth rate is less than half of that in Mexico and Brazil, which is probably because we have better television. No, I would only say that because we're here. But the history of the industry in Argentina is television started in 51, and it's all stop and go. So television starts in 51, and it's all boom. Then it stops. Then cable television starts in the days that, because we're so far south, you needed 2-meter dishes to receive the images, and then distributed them by a cable. So that's why Argentina still has a legacy of 85% of all homes receiving cable. So at least 60 channels go into everyone's houses, at least. And that doesn't count satellite or all the rest. So after that, collective antennas, as they were called in those days, we went through a phase that the broadcasters became important, and they kitted themselves up. Argentina was a late adopter of color television because of a lot of bickering over which standard to adopt. Only 1978 did Argentina start with color, and that was when the broadcasters invested heavily. Then that stopped, and it became the producers. And production became quite important, to the point that Argentina is always the number 3rd winner of awards in international advertising festivals. So television awards, it's the US, the UK, and then Argentina, so there's quality there as well. It's also the number 4th exporter of television format after the US, the Netherlands, and the UK. The UK is the 3rd, so again, a good possibility of combining things there. And what's interesting is that the way these things are done is you do the set for, say, a soap opera or for a particular game show or whatever, and on the same set, you bring the actors from the different countries in Latin America or other parts to film it there. So like that, you absorb the overheads within 20 countries, but you do it in the local variation of the Spanish or the Portuguese for each country, and like that, you're able to take advantage of the economies of scale of doing it like that. And it's quite clever. Even Disney, ESPN, many of the international television stations have program out there. We're now moving into a buying stage into which the broadcasters are becoming important again, because Argentina, again, because of political bickering, was late in adopting the digital TV standards, but now it's awarded 82 licenses last year. There's like 10 stations transmitting in full time and already now. And the idea is that these stations and producing agencies will now want to source newer kit. So we want to, well, just say basically we're open for business. Argentina had a major political change in December. The new president of Argentina has already met with the Prime Minister, David Cameron, in Davos, meeting again in Beijing next week. So it's more and more, it's let's do more business, let's catch up, let's do what we haven't done in the previous years. So really Argentina is open for business, and CAPER, which is the local trade association for the broadcasting industry, they asked me before coming out that they were very keen on knowing of British suppliers and sending the information to their members, allowing you guys to set up local reps and the rest. So basically that, here to help. And with that, over to Brazil.
Thank you. Great start.
Muchas gracias, Alfredo. Sí. Somos todos amigos aqui. Sí. Oh. Well, I'm Tássia from UKTI Brazil. Brazil is the only Portuguese-speaking country in Latin America, but we are 200 million people, so that's a huge market for any company from any sector, and especially for the broadcasting sector. Brazil has the 7th largest world economy. Right now, we are facing a bit of a difficult moment, but we are expecting things to get better by the end of this year, beginning of next year. And we have one of the largest broadcasters in the world, which is TV Globo. And they are a very big player all around the world, and they are normally pioneers into putting new things into the market. One of the things I want to tell you here today is around what's going on in the market, what are the trends right now. For this year, what we are seeing a lot of talks around digital transition. So we are changing this year to digital TV. It's expected to officially start in April and then by 2018. But there are several concerns around that because accessibility will be a key issue because around 50% of the Brazilian population don't have access to a TV, to a digital TV. So the government will have to work a lot on providing devices to make the transition accessible, and also, also on applications. So we have several interactive applications that are not yet being properly used by the broadcasters. And what happens in Brazil is that we have the main broadcasters, but we have regional ones as well. As we have a very large territory, the smaller ones help people like TV Globo to reach like northern parts of Brazil or southern parts of Brazil. And they all have to be very well aligned to make this happen. So we are waiting to see what it's going to be. But we have really high hopes because the telecom operators are actually financing this process. So we expect a lot of pressure from their side so they can have a larger reach for 4G in Brazil as well. Another thing that's really a hot topic in Brazil at the moment is streaming. So TV Globo has just announced its live streaming services this month. So they already have streaming from their website, but will be live, and for a fee that's quite affordable for Brazilians. Netflix is huge in Brazil. Brazil is the 4th largest market for Netflix. So I believe that most of the broadcasters will move a lot to that. So they can see, well, it's a trend, Netflix is growing, so what we are going to do about it. There is some pressure to have Netflix regulated in the country from agencies, but Anatel, which is our telecom agency, is still not sure how to do that because it's a very complicated situation with companies like Netflix. So we're still waiting to see how that goes. And they have around 2 million clients in Brazil at the moment, a largest market after the UK, US, and Canada. Very large. Pay TV is kind of stable at the moment. We have around 19 million people using pay TV right now. It was growing fast from like 2000 to 2013 with the increase of the economic power from the population. And now for the last 2 years it's been stable, especially because of all this new technology coming. So the main thing I see is really people investing more in multiple platforms. And we have a lot of UK companies working already in Brazil, especially on software for management of production, on satellite enhancement. So if you have something that can help broadcasters to reach a larger amount of the country, that's really something that it matters a lot to broadcasters there. As we have a huge country, we have the rainforest. It's not easy to get signal over there. So that's another point I'd like to highlight. And, well, there are many opportunities in several other sectors. So TV engineering is very big. We have a trade fair that normally has a very big UK attendance in August. This year we will have the Olympics, so we don't know how things are going to be after the Olympics, but we know we'll have a lot of last-minute opportunities, because what happens in Latin America in general is that people leave a lot of things for the last minute. It's true. Yeah, I was in Rio last month, and the whole thing is changing. And the Olympics is already almost starting, and they are still doing a lot of things in the city. So for broadcasting as well, I'm sure we are going to have a lot of opportunities. So, and well, that's it. It's not an easy market, not easy to enter, but if you have the right contacts and if you're really willing to make a commitment, it's not that hard. It's going to be okay, and we are there to help as well. Thank you.
That's great.
Now,
Thank you.
That was a really hard act to follow, so I'll be quick. I think if we would have had this conversation 4 years ago, for me, there will be not much to talk about, because it was 4 years ago, it was basically two main players in Mexico who dominated the broadcast landscape. It was Televisa and TV Azteca. But now, under the new administration, and like a lot of the changes in Latin America, some of the big changes that we've had have been driven by political reforms, not necessarily market conditions. And I think our political parties have realized that throughout Latin America, in Argentina, in Brazil, in Mexico. So what happened in this administration is that they did a telecom reform. So the telecom reform basically stipulated that 2 new free-to-air TV channels needed to be created. And we also needed to have the digital switchover in 2014. Fast forward until 2015, the digital switchover, we did it that year instead of 14 because it was delayed. The process in the government was first to deliver set-top boxes, but then decided to give away TVs. It was a strange decision, but when we were speaking with the Ministry of Communications, they said, you know what? We're going to give the set-top boxes the price of flat-screen TVs right now. It's really competitive for us to give people the actual TV, and people with low education or that live in the rural areas, they don't have to bother with setting up anything. They just plug it in and there you go. So there's a logic behind that. And they finished the digital transition in December. And at the moment, we have a new TV network that's looking to launch in summer. It's from a company, a big Mexican conglomerate that owns hospitals, they own banks, football club, hotels. It's called Grupo Imagen. We don't know what the name of the TV channel will be, but they're going to start in summer. And we're already having conversations because they're looking to invest around $600 million over the next 3 years in equipment alone. And content, that's a whole different discussion that we're having. And that has created sort of like a shift, because the companies that were already there, the Televisas, the TV Aztecas, they were really comfortable for a long time. And what Grupo Imagen is trying to do is trying to disrupt the market with different content. And that goes in hand to what we're seeing from Brazil and Argentina, is this shift, whereas people don't watch TV the way they used to. They want to watch their own shows at their own time, and they don't want to even be bothered by the commercials. And the stories need to be more compelling. If any of you knew Mexican TV, everything was soap operas, and really bad soap operas, in my opinion. I'm not a big fan. But anyway, there's a big market for that. But I think that being next to the US and having that aspiration to sort of be at the forefront has pushed us to diversify in content, and that has pushed the TV networks to invest a lot more in content and equipment as well. So at the moment, we have Televisa, TV Azteca, and Grupo Imagen, all in all, investing around $1 billion combined over the next 3 years, which is a really important figure. We have Netflix. There's a huge market for Netflix in Mexico, and also the Mexican TV networks are jumping on the bandwagon. So we've got América Móvil, which is the biggest mobile operator in Latin America with 300 million users. They created an OTT platform called Claro TV, and that's second most popular in Mexico. This week, Televisa, the biggest broadcaster in Latin America, they created theirs. So there's going to be a lot of disruption. They're aiming for a segment of the population that I think Netflix isn't aiming, which is the people that watch the soap operas, lower income, and it's going to be in a cheaper price as well, in pesos. the fluctuation between the exchange rate in dollars and pesos has affected us. So Mexican companies aiming content with Spanish speaking or more of a combined format between good storytelling, but in Spanish, I think they're going to disrupt the market, and they'll create a lot more competition, a lot more opportunities. So from my end, that's the current landscape.
That's really great. Thanks, guys. I think that gives you a really good overview of opportunities available, both from a broadcasting point of view, but also the new platforms as well. Does anybody have any questions on any of the points that were raised? Shout if you do. Is there a mic? Oh yeah, there is. Yeah. So just shout up if you've got any questions on any of that. So what would be if you were giving advice to someone who'd not sort of broken into the Latin American market before? What would be your top tips really for getting started and getting up and on your feet in any of those territories?
The thing that, in my experience, I see a lot for UK companies going to Latin America for their first time is that they don't realize the scale of some of the countries, because what you see here, and you're probably focused, I don't know, more in Asia or the US, you don't think it's that big and it's that developed. So you need to go in with a really good offer. You need to have in mind that a lot of American companies, for example, have made really good inroads. So you're competing against that, and you need a good price, good terms, but in the negotiation, I would say be persistent, because a lot of the companies that go need to go like at least 8 to 10 times, find a local partner, and maybe aspire to sign a deal. So from my end, that would be my recommendations.
Yes, and also we have all that in Brazil as well. And one of the key things to consider before going into Brazil are the taxes, because taxes can be very high for electronics in Brazil. So beforehand, you really need to study a bit more. Well, is that the market for me? Will my product be competitive in that market? Because sometimes you face the same difficulties as the local companies, because we also have local taxes. But in other cases, if you have a local competitor, what would be the value of your product there? So we are trying to work a lot on niche products for UK companies in Brazil. So the market knows it's more expensive, but still it makes a difference. So yeah, we want it because it's special. We want it because we don't have it here. And even though there are all the difficulties, the UK companies will succeed. So finding a local partner is normally one of the main things, and it's a long-term relationship. Don't expect to go to Latin America once and make it just, well, I'm here, everything will be okay. No, you need to put a lot of effort and create a relationship. We are very touching and relationship people. Ooh. That matters a lot to us. So really talking a lot to your people there is very important.
I'll subscribe to 100% of that, plus one thing. The local representation companies will actually be integrators. So the TV stations more and more, or less and less often, let's say, do the integration role. They depend on third parties. So it's very important to work together with them, because they'll be the ones who source the product for the different people to set up a new digital studio or a new mobile external unit or whatever it might be. So only that.
Great. So just going back to the point you made about relationships, because obviously there's a lot of, if you're a one-man band or you're a small business, and it's the airfare, not that I'm trying to put people off from going to Latin America, but, you've got to pay for the airfare, and obviously those relationships take time to sort of build up over a period of time. I mean, what's the best way of going about doing that? I mean, how do you think relationship building works in Latin America? I mean, how many mojitos does it take to secure a deal? I don't know. What's the sort of, are there sort of cultural differences, or what sort of advice would you give people in terms of?
Well, the cultural differences are whether you're drinking tequila or wine or caipirinhas or whatever. That's where the cultural differences lie. No. But that's where the business is, as Luis is pointing out. No, really, I guess the main issue is, as we were saying before, is establishing a relationship. Establishing a relationship, mainly what means is Not necessarily spending on airfares, although airfares are important and critically clear, but simply that the person that travels the first time is the person that travels the second time and that travels the third time. Because you will, at some point, be introduced to family, be taken out to a football game, be taken out to a night show, whatever. And if the face changes every trip, you have to start from scratch. So it's important to keep the consistency of sending the same person out, that it's the same person that picks up the phone, that signs the emails and all the rest. That's very, very important. You are developing a trust relationship. The engineer in the TV station who needs to buy a new mobile unit, I mean, he's accountant to his boss, so he needs to trust in you that what you're telling him is not just because you want to sell, but also because you're understanding what his needs are, and that's really relevant.
And you never start a conversation, a business meeting, talking about business. You always start talking about football, about anything that you want, about the weather, but it normally takes at least 50 minutes of small talk. And that's it, and that's the way people are there. That's who we are, and we enjoy creating a relationship before we actually start doing business. And that's very important. So sometimes British people just go there and, well, let's start talking about business, and that can be a bit weird for Brazilians because they want to get to know you better, so they know they can trust you.
Great. Don't be too serious is the message then. Got to love your football.
I just want to make the commercial because UKTI does organize a lot of trade missions to not only Latin America, throughout the world, but that's a really great way if you're new to the market in an environment that you can, A, meet a lot of people in one go without having to organize the meetings yourselves and talk to like-minded companies as well. That would be, in my opinion, a good way to start in a very cost-effective and a very quick way.
And a big thank you to Luis, Tasia and Alfredo for their insights. And we hope you give it a go and try out Latin America. Thank you very much.